We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. GLAAD reports Pride Month 2025 saw record anti-LGBTQ plus violence nationwide, driven by political rhetoric and disproportionately targeting transgender and gender-diverse communities.
Kristen Stewart warns that Trump's film terror threatened creativity, says she may leave the U.S., work in Europe, and push cinema from there.
Florida lawmakers push bills criminalizing gender-affirming care and restricting crisis services, sparking fears of increased harm and barriers for LGBTQ youth.
Attorneys accuse the Justice Department of misleading judges by denying transgender troop discharges, despite evidence showing service members removed under the ban.
Chappell Roan's Grammy Advocacy helped launch Beeline, a crisis hotline supporting music industry professionals amid alarming suicide risk statistic nationwide.
All this important LGBTQ plus news and more this evening on Queer News Tonight. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified that Queer News Tonight's YouTube channel is the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 11 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in our rainbow family.
There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, January 29th. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots magazine, Happening Out television network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but created for the LGBTQ community. Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots magazine and Happening Out television network. Hotspots Happening Out is a proud beneficiary of the 2026 Florida AIDS Walk, standing strong by our healthcare pillar. Funds raised are matched dollar for dollar in support of our HIV policy reform and educational programs, including our MSM conference. We invite you to donate and join us on March 12th to walk in support of the Hotspots Happening Out teams.
In 2026, our magazine is celebrating 41 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 11,000 LGBTQ television stories. We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fest. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2026, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share their voice as our anchors. Together, we host this show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options Magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you for having me, Rex. Normally I do a fundraiser, but we just heard the news today that, the Greater LGBTQ Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce, unfortunately, I guess, is not able to continue staffing up due to budget cuts. And Jason Nunes, who's a member an anchor here. It looks like he is being laid off. I just want to say how sorry we all are for you, Jason, and really hope for the best.
Now let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ publications and websites. Welcome to the show, Gregg.
I'm so happy to be here. It's been a really good day this morning. I interviewed the one, the only Janice Ian. This is in advance of her being at the Stonewall Gala later in late February. So it was a wonderful interview. She's so brilliant, and so just doing my job.
Gregg always gets the good tickets. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen. A world traveler and well-versed in global affairs, Bobby provides an international perspective on current events. A PhD in conflict resolution, Bobby is a certified civil and family mediator and the founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Thank you, Rex, honey. I love the crown.
Thank you. Got to bring a little sparkle to the event every day.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Rex Rogosch. Rex is a visionary designer with over 30 years of experience in product design, interior design, and architecture. He performs in the drag community as International Lords and is the current reigning Mr. Scandals 2026. Rex is the president and co-founder of Lantera, a 501c3 organization dedicated to advancing mental health awareness through inclusive, community-driven events. Rex, Monday Vigil and Town Hall will be held at Sunshine Cathedral on Monday, February 2nd to address healthcare funding laws. Tell me, what's happening out?
Absolutely, Alex. On Monday, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, AHF, will host a candlelight vigil and town hall at Sunshine Cathedral, bringing the community together for reflection, updates, and action. The evening begins at 5:30 p.m. with a walk starting from the Department of Health, just south of Sunshine Cathedral across State Road 84, and proceeding to the cathedral. By 6 p.m., participants will arrive at Sunshine Cathedral Square, where Bishop Darrell Watkins will share his thoughts before moving inside. AHF will then share the latest on the lawsuits, outline next steps, and host a Q&A session. For updates, follow AHF online. Queer News Tonight will be covering this event closely. And this, unfortunately, we have to talk about stuff like this. Funding cuts have, been across the board. This is yet another recent funding cut to HIV prevention and AIDS people within Florida in general. But, I personally have seen friends who, are getting treatment for HIV and they don't know what to do because they make more than what this new minimum, dollar threshold is. And look, South Florida is not a cheap place to live, and so being below the poverty line basically means you won't be able to live here. And so this is just, another, unfortunately, another misguided attempt at government when they get rid of funding as either prevention or treatment, because the unfortunate reality of that is it's going to cost them more down the line when these people end up in the hospital.
Right. But they never think that far ahead.
The hospitals only have to do so much. That's what's really horrifying. They only have to stabilize you in an emergency situation. They don't have to treat you for long term. Now, there's a couple of things. One, I just want to say that the AIDS Health Foundation is one of the best HIV organizations out there. I've always appreciated how they do not just do what Big Pharma tells them. They do their own thing, unlike a lot of the other LGBTQ HIV groups. But this funding, people forget, some of the reason the state's doing this is because the state's not a very competent state, let's be honest. But also, the federal government just did a huge, massive cut to healthcare spending.
Absolutely.
They may have diverted that spending to the DHS, which is a whole other story, but that is a real thing that you as individuals have to remember. This is important, and yes, who you vote for, who controls the budgets matters, and it is a life or death situation.
Very much a life or death situation. I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's queer up gay culture. New GLAAD report says Pride 2025 among most dangerous ever. A new report from GLAAD shows Pride Month 2025 was one of the most dangerous periods for queer Americans in U.S. history. The media advocacy group documented 268 anti-LGBTQ+ incidents in June 2025 alone, a nearly 400% increase compared to recent years. Overall, GLAAD tracked more than 1,000 incidents nationwide in its annual extremism report, published Tuesday, January 27th. Through its alert desk, GLAAD recorded 128 acts of vandalism, 78 violent assaults, 22 threats of mass violence, and 15 arson attempts. More than half of all incidents targeted transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people, marking a 10% rise from the previous year. States facing intense political battles over LGBTQ+ rights, including California, Texas, Ohio, New Hampshire, and Washington reported the highest numbers. California alone saw 198 incidents in 2025, the most of any state. GLAAD President and CEO Sarah Kate Ellis blamed political rhetoric and policy decisions across party lines. Ellis urged Americans to stand together, saying the public should, quote, refuse to accept a country where our neighbors fear for their safety, end quote, calling for united efforts against queer violence and harassment. GLAAD encourages anyone experiencing anti-LGBTQ+ violence or harassment to report it through its alert desk. So, I hate to say this because I keep having to say this. It doesn't surprise me that we're seeing numbers go up, regardless if these numbers are not the full story or if they're exaggerated because people are calling things in. The fact that the numbers are going up is alarming in general. We are already seeing prides across the nation being canceled.
Right.
The 2026 Pride in Arizona. Tucson just got dismantled. I mean, we're having issues with Naples Pride. Yeah. We've had issues with Fort Lauderdale Pride, over concerns and all other sorts of things. But still, this is something that is alarming in general. And, coupling that, we all kind of have these conversations, coupling that with everything that's happening with ICE and all of that.
Right.
Now we're now we're sitting ducks for things. So it's just, it's alarming. And, the whole see something, say something, fortunately and unfortunately, we live in what I call the gay bubble in Wilton Manors. And most of the time we don't see a lot of this stuff happening because we are in a gay bubble. But it's creeping up on us, right? There's reports of ICE and there's reports of raids and we've seen the people, doing burnouts on our streets.
Yeah, it's come here.
It's starting to come here. So again, I hate to say that it doesn't surprise me, but this doesn't surprise me.
But what surprises me is that this is a new report. I'm surprised and a little dismayed that this is the first that we're hearing about this more than 6 months after Pride Month 2025. If anything,
and we're gearing up. I mean, we just had our first Pride
season. If anything, this should be a warning to us to be extra vigilant, be aware, especially because since Pride season officially started here with My Hollywood Pride just this past weekend, again, be on guard, be aware. I know this is not a good suggestion. Don't be too, buzzed or whatever, otherwise occupied.
Be aware yourself.
And don't be looking at your phone. Look around. Look at your surroundings.
Those are all good points. And there has been from actual experts, there has been clear documentation of increased incidences of hate and harassment.
Absolutely.
GLAAD is not a group with a background in this sort of research. And I did have to look at both their report and other groups to compare it to because it was a very odd methodology. Because for those that don't, GLAAD, they're known for a media awards event and for a CEO who gets
Alliance Against Defamation, right? Isn't that
no, this is the gay and lesbian.
Yeah, GLAAD. Isn't that
Is it that? It's the 2 ways. It's the one that does the media.
Yeah,
they do the media awards, and their CEO gets treated like a celebrity by their board with a lot of fancy things. So, I didn't think, I'm used to thinking as someone who's, is a research director, and, I've done LGBT hate crime studies with Media Matters, I never think of GLAAD to do these.
This is more of a task force thing.
Well, not just the task force, the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Williams Institute are much more qualified.
Right.
So I looked at this and I looked at their reports to figure it out. And one, their methodology was very vague, which is very unusual. I'm used to a much more put it together. But also, they're only showing 1,000 instances. It's self-reported, which is very speculative. And the thing that they documented and they singled out the specific case of the Westboro Baptist Church, which we all would assume is they protested that they didn't like the governor of Colorado, so they went to the state house to protest. I'm I don't think that's a hate crime. But who does monitor hate crimes is the FBI. They found 2,000 LGBTQ hate crimes last year and 500 trans cases.
The fact that they actually keep tabs on a given climate.
They might no longer do that for trans people specifically, but like there's also the issues. So that means when we know of actual documented cases of hate, about 1 in 5 is trans-related. I'm not trying to minimize it. Right. I'm saying GLAAD is doing a very half-done, they don't have the right background research, making a very bold statement that
would the FBI share that information with an organization like GLAAD? Where they
publish it every year.
And that's why
how the Southern Poverty Law Center was able to do that.
And that's why I said, these numbers are not surprising. And we know that, most numbers that are out there, I mean, when we're talking about anything, hate crimes, suicide, deaths by, alcohol, whatever, we can only go by what's reported. And there's, we all know that probably 1 in 5 don't get reported, right?
Actually,
so the numbers are probably...
But who's going to know to report to a LGBTQ media advocate?
They're not,
group?
but
that's a very weird thing to report to them.
And also, instead of doing like stats on hate crimes, which we have plenty of because of other organizations, why not talk about LGBTQ erasure from popular culture or from sports, from culture, from other things that LGBT visibility matter? But now, for example, NHL several teams have pulled Pride Night, NFL, some parts of the NFL.
And GLAAD is very good at monitoring media stuff. They have a good reputation because that's what they're known to do. And I just see this report, and it just feels like a nonprofit trying to get some donor to donate to something.
I mean, if that's the case, like I said, we don't know the full scope of it. However, it is something that needs to be talked about. So honestly, I don't care if it's McDonald's or GLAAD reporting that the numbers are up there. It at least starts the conversation.
Yeah, it's being reported.
But I hear you. But if I just taken 20 minutes this morning could start picking apart this report, what do you think a right-winger trying to make it sound like there aren't any trans attacks?
Well, they're going to do that regardless.
But we don't need to give them ammunition.
They make their own, unfortunately.
I mean, and to be honest, California, Texas, Ohio, New Hampshire, and Washington, that seems to be a weird collection of states. I mean, California, biggest states, no question.
Aren't they very based in California? So I'd imagine they get a lot of reporting
Texas,
from California.
Obviously, very red. Ohio, very red.
Make Florida very jealous.
But New Hampshire is more of a libertarian thing, and Washington State is pretty blue. Well, except Eastern Washington, which is like Naziland over there. But Florida doesn't get...
if you look at the Southern Poverty Law Center, when they do all the different hate groups, it doesn't necessarily connect to particular policies. Like Massachusetts is known for having a very active Nazi organization, for pity's sake. I don't think of that as the birthplace of Nazism in America.
No. Actually,
I mean, like I said, unfortunately, we have to talk about these things, and as we said, stay vigilant. If you see something, say something, because that's the only way that more people will be notified and aware of what's going on out in the world.
I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up entertainment. Out actress Kristen Stewart may leave U.S. over Trump. Twilight star Kristen Stewart says she may leave the United States if Donald Trump follows through on what she calls terrifying threats to the film industry. In an interview with The Times, Stewart discussed her directorial debut, The Chronology of Water, a biographical drama about Olympic hopeful Lydia Yanakovich. The film was shot in Latvia, and Stewart said, quote, would have been impossible to do in the States, end quote. The bisexual actor who married screenwriter Dylan Meyer in 2025 criticized Trump's proposals to impose a 100% tariff on films made outside the U.S., saying, quote, reality is breaking completely under Trump, but we should take a page out of his book and create the reality we want to live in, end quote. Asked whether she would continue living in the United States, Stewart was blunt. She said, quote, probably not. I can't work freely there, but I don't want to give up completely. I'd like to make movies in Europe and then shove them down the throats of the American people, end quote. After rising to fame as Bella Swan, Stewart has built a career spanning blockbusters in queer cinema, including Love Lies Bleeding and Spencer. The Chronology of Water, starring Imogen Potts, explores trauma, survival, and queer identity. Rosie O'Donnell moved out of the United States, and
Ellen DeGeneres too.
But Rosie O'Donnell specifically, Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened her life.
Absolutely.
This rich white liberal Like all liberal elite POSs are like, oh, it's tough. I'm just going to move. And not even for like fear that she has to fight for this country. Oh, I don't want to deal with tariffs. Well, oh, you poor thing.
And that's what I was about to say. Her moving outside the United States and then making the movies outside the United States means there will be tariffs.
Yeah.
So I deal with tariffs every day. I work for a manufacturing company based in Hong Kong. So I deal with tariffs every day. And, and I have to describe to people how tariffs work and who actually pays them and the other countries don't pay them. We do. So, her leaving the country doesn't solve the problem. In fact, staying in the country would actually help solve the problem, right? And our film industry here is actually really big, so I don't understand why. I mean, there's only so much you can film in the United States. Yes, we have tons of different, we have mountains and deserts and moonscapes and forests and yada, yada, yada.
And 4 seasons in some places?
Yeah, exactly.
We're overthinking the economics of this. No, I don't think she's looking at this as a
she's not, but she's not. But, if I'm filming a movie based in Paris, guess where I'm going? I'm going to Paris. So, you can only do so much on a sound stage.
Yeah.
You can only do so much with CGI.
And AI.
Well, I mean, and AI. She specifically can only do so much. I mean, she wants to shove more movies down the American people's throats. And I'm like, first off, Twilight was enough, dear. We didn't need 3 of that to begin with. And just like, I think have more respect for the American people. If you want this country to function, don't run away.
Agree.
Fight for this country. There are people in Minnesota dying to protect this country right now. And this woman is saying this stuff.
She's going to run.
From her mansion.
I know.
And she has the means to.
Of course, that's actually the biggest point that we haven't even talked about. Not everyone can flee. Right. And that is a huge difference between white people with money and a lot of people that can't flee this country.
Well, and white people with money, Ellen DeGeneres left, and now she's coming back.
Well,
so
she's got to hang out with her friend George Bush.
It didn't work out for her. And then Rosie O'Donnell did leave, and she is happy where she is. There's a good geographical distance between her and the orange malignancy, but we'll have to see. The thing is, what kind of sacrifices are movie studios and distributors? Are they willing to make if the president, as I like to call him, remember the movie The Terrifier? I like to call him the Tariff-ier, a.k.a. Fart the Clown, if he follows through on his threat.
Do you think more movie studios will do more Melania documentaries?
But the thing is, though, offshoring movies is nothing new. I mean, it has been, there are multiple supposedly big budget blockbusters that were shot in China because they want to cater to Chinese audiences. Yeah. Hollywood companies don't just do business with American theaters.
Agreed.
They sell their movies, they distribute it internationally.
Right. Agreed.
That is why Hollywood and American culture has spread so far and wide.
But you have to wonder who's putting this in his ear because he's not smart. I mean, he's not even smart enough to think of this. And this hatred, this Hollywood hatred stuff.
A lot of it is knee-jerk reaction. So again, I'm literally on a call every Monday with my corporate office on finding out what country has what tariff at what level every Monday, and it changes every Monday. Yeah. And so there's got to be someone somewhere that he's like, I need leverage. So therefore, I'm going to put 100% tariff on this, and then that country is going to go, oh no, because we have a big, movie sound lot, whatever it is, and they're going to go, no, we're going to give you these concessions.
Right. He's not putting the leverage on Kristen Stewart.
Yeah. Then in that case, the biggest victim is Canada. Well, because Canada takes a lot of Hollywood productions.
But the one thing I will say in all this economics talks, I was all ready just to bash and white liberal, but fine.
Sorry for bringing that.
The only semi-positive thing with what you just said about Trump's crazy tariffs is the business community has been able to manage these wacky, all over the place regulatory fines, which is what they basically are, quite easily, which means that for those that want government to actually regulate businesses, they won't collapse. When you hear businesses say stuff will collapse, it won't. I'm not saying we should be doing what Trump's doing, just saying the business community can handle a lot more than people think.
They can. It has been difficult, I will say. It's not been easy, and some of the businesses have come and said, we're going to pull this Sir Trump if you keep doing this.
And the way it's affecting the consumer, just the average consumer.
Oh yeah, it's dropping us a fortune.
Yeah, ultimately, all the cost is passed down to the consumer. That's what tariffs does.
Right.
The tariff's central function of a tariff is to encourage domestic production over
Bobby,
import.
Does this cost us more than the
There will
time?
be no domestic.
Bobby, has this cost us more than the time we lost watching the Twilight movies?
I have no idea. I never watched Twilight movies. I never read one of those.
And this is why you should still teach economics in high school.
I'm Gregg Shapiro, and let's quote up South Florida and Florida. Vague Florida bills target gender-affirming care. Florida lawmakers are advancing a series of bills that LGBTQ advocates warn could further criminalize and restrict care for transgender youth. Two measures, HB 743 and SB 1010, would make it a third-degree felony for medical providers or state employees to aid or abet gender-affirming care for patients under 18. The bills use the term sex reassignment prescriptions and procedures, but do not define what aiding and abetting means. SB 1010 also opens the door to civil lawsuits and fines of up to $100,000 for each violation, and allows the Attorney General to pursue cases up to 2 years later. Behavioral health professional Savannah Thompson said, quote, "This could increase the feelings of fear from my clients who are under 18, but it also can increase the likelihood that these professionals won't be able to talk with their clients honestly and openly to give them the care and the support that they deserve and need," end quote. Lawmakers also advanced HB 173, which would require parental consent for teens 13 and older to access outpatient crisis services. Critics warn this could limit access to mental health hotlines such as 988, which will disproportionately harm queer youth. Democrat Representative Robin Bartleman reportedly told the bill's GOP sponsor, Representative Kim Kendall, quote, "If my teen is about to kill themselves, I want them to access a hotline," end quote. The bills come as Florida Republicans continue aggressive efforts targeting trans rights and LGBTQ protections statewide. I mean, come on, why is it not surprising that Florida lawmakers would utilize vague language in bills to entrap and prosecute people? That's
the vagueness. That's the point.
That's exactly their motive, especially when it comes to something that is ultimately a matter of life and death. The cruelty of these barbarians knows no bounds.
The fact that a lot of these politicians have children of their own. Can you? I did advocacy work and answered emails and letters for the Trevor Project. Mm-hmm. You know, and people know that I have a organization that deals with mental health, and I have been very honest on this show about my mental health journeys. To think that a 13-year-old, I remember when I was 13 and dealing with stuff, I was scared enough to say something, nor did I know where to reach out. To have to go to my parents and say, "Mom, Dad, I need help. I need your permission for me to call for help," is unimaginable. And I hate to say this, but what is going to happen when one of these lawmakers that has a child, whether they be straight or gay or bisexual or transgender, who is being bullied and needs help and gets turned away,
It won't be there.
and it won't be there, and then all of a sudden that child commits suicide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that lawmaker who passed that law now has that on their hand because they caused their own child's death.
There are multiple cases of politicians who push for anti-LGBTQ laws only to make a U-turn when they find out that one of their children or one of their nieces is part of the
thing
community.
Is we need to think about that because these laws I hate to say this, but these laws affect our community. It affects every single child in our community.
That's also the biggest difference. You're talking about there was a U.S. Senator Republican. He didn't support marriage equality. Marriage equality is very important, but we're grown adults that can can find a way to live and deal with that. we're talking about children in mental health crisis situations, in gender-affirming care situations with their doctors. This is a very different situation. These people could harm a lot of kids. And like the Florida legislature is absolutely unhinged this year. They're trying to do this. They're also at the same time, they're trying to make it legal. So like right now, if a cop knows he's breaking the law, he's not allowed to beat you up while he's doing it. I didn't know that needed to be said, but apparently that they want to repeal that law. And that's crazy. And this is crazy. This is the Florida legislature has lost their friggin' minds. And I see this and I'm like, what the heck are you doing?
They are coasting on their Republican supermajority. They think that they gerrymander the states into a red super state, and now they are basically just going to pursue every policy on their whim. I mean, modern American politics has now come to the point where it is no longer about policy for the people. It's about who can make the other side cry.
Well, yeah, we knew that DeSantis was going to be even crazier, especially when he wasn't going to be considered to be president. We knew this is all going to be about him going nuts in his last year.
And now it is about the road for his wife to become governor.
Well, I don't even think she's declared, but like, we're seeing this, and I do want to remind like the medical community, like, yes, like they're trying to pass laws to make it so that you have to pay fines if you help our community. I still expect you guys to do your duty. Like there are certain things. This country is changing in the way where like there are certain things that are more important than the law. Like to paraphrase and butcher a West Wing episode thing about like like if the law says it's illegal for a doctor to set the leg of a man, you still set the guy's leg. Doctor.
Agreed.
Like that's what the standard should be.
You know how
the Hippocratic oath.
Yep. No. Absolutely. I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's clear up the USA View. Lawyers accuse Trump DOJ of lying about trans troop ban. Lawyers representing transgender service members are accusing the Trump Justice Department of misleading a federal appeals court about the enforcement of the renewed transgender military ban. In a filing in Talbert versus United States, attorneys told the D.C. Circuit that government lawyers falsely claimed no transgender troops had been discharged under the policy. That assertion, they say, was contradicted by evidence obtained after last week's oral arguments. The filing names 2 service members, including Thackeray Kamau, a 12-year New Mexico Army National Guard veteran, and Angela Troska, who served more than 20 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. Both were allegedly discharged under the ban. GLAAD law attorney Michael Haley wrote, quote, plaintiffs' appellees raise these examples to ensure that the court is aware of the ongoing harms faced by transgender service members, end quote. During the January 22nd hearing, DOJ attorney Abhishek Combly told judges no separations had occurred, a claim sharply disputed by the plaintiff's counsel. Shannon Minter of the National Center for LGBTQ Rights sharply pointed out that, quote, it is telling that the government seems to recognize that it can't defend this irrational policy without misrepresenting the facts, end quote. The appeals court has not yet ruled on whether to reinstate an injunction blocking the ban. I mean, first, who is surprised that the government
is lying?
That this government is lying? Nobody's surprised. And who's surprised that it's in a court? Nobody. We've already seen, the orange man ignore court rulings. Mm-hmm. So that there's no surprise there. This is sad because you have people who have been in the military serving honorably.
It is not just the fact that the government lied. The government lies all the time, even under relatively sane administrations. But it's just the sheer incompetence at it.
Well, it's unusual for the government, and that's not actually the politically correct term. The regime, let's call it what it wants to be identified as. This regime has been lying to courts, and that is actually very new. Yes, I'm sure it's happened occasionally in history, but Vox has been doing a very good job detailing how the way judges just trying to deal with ICE and some of the other Department of Justice stuff, the lying, the incompetence,
lie.
The disregard for the courts and the rule of law is at a whole new level, and this is just one of a very large piece of that.
No, we didn't fire them because they were trans. We fired them because of A, B, C, D, F, G. I've lived in a lot of military states. I've had a lot of military friends. One of my first boyfriends was in the military right when Don't Ask, Don't Tell got signed. I got a phone call from him going, I'm telling them that I'm gay so I can get out of the military so they don't send me overseas. Don't tell them we had sex. Like, I've been through all of that. So, the military does protect their own. The lawyers do not.
Right.
So, and what's sad about this is if you're going, I hate to say this, but if you're going to lie, do it in a way that they can't catch you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's proof on some of this stuff. So, again, the whole government is in all of our stories, they're rallying behind the 1% of our American population to eradicate them, basically. And that shows how cowardly the government is, malicious, and what that they're hiding. I mean, they are hiding something and hiding some things. So they're going after the 1%. They're going after
yes, and the thing is, they're doing this now in this case. They're doing it. They're willfully disregarding court rulings, and we all like to blame the regime, as they should be. But the real incompetence right now is our judicial system. Our judiciary just is saying to the world, oh, you can ignore our rulings. You don't have to do what we say. I've never known a judge to be okay with that before, but apparently anything goes in this
But the thing is, though, how much can a judge can do if the regime just simply refuse to respect the ruling? They don't have their own judicial police to enforce
There is one judge who is so fed up with what's going on, he's forcing the head of ICE to come in or be held in contempt.
I mean,
and that can result in jail time.
I was going to say, if you or I go to court and disregard what the judge says, they're knocking on your door with handcuffs and they're taking you in.
That's if they're polite enough to knock. They don't normally knock.
So there is something that can be done. And Trump is still an American citizen, and guess what?
He's not beyond the
law.
No kings, no kings. And the comment by Shannon Minter of the National Center for LGBTQ Rights really stood out for me. Quote, "It is telling that the government seems to recognize that it can't defend this irrational policy without misrepresenting the facts." End quote. The Reich lies. We know this. The Reich is definitely lying. And misrepresentation of fact, it's the same old story from this devious administration.
And by the way, just a light note before we move on from this story. Can one of you change names? GLAD or GLAAD? I keep getting them confused.
Oh, because of the two GLAADs.
Yes.
I know they should hug it out or something.
A decade now, every time.
From this forward, anything that's LGBTQ should be known as the Alphabet Mafia.
I'm Bobby Huen, and let's queer up entertainment. Chappell Roan Advocacy sparks new mental health hotline. Nearly 1 year after calling out the music industry's lack of mental health support on the Grammy stage, Chappell Roan's Advocacy has helped spark a new lifeline for artists. On Tuesday, nonprofit Backline Care launched Beeline, a dedicated crisis hotline for music industry professionals. The hotline and text line connect artists with counselors trained specifically to support those working in music. A 2025 Music Care survey found suicidal ideation rates among music industry professionals are more than double those of general U.S. population. Backline credits Roan's 2025 Grammy speech with helping set the stage for the initiative. After winning Best New Artist, Roan donated $25,000 to Backline's We Got You program, with Charlie XCX and Noah Kahan matching her gift. Sponsors now include Spotify and Live Nation. At the Grammys, Roan demanded industry accountability, saying, quote, "Soul record labels need to treat their artists as valuable employees with a livable wage and health insurance and protection," end quote. Roan, who has spoken openly about living with severe depression, continues to prioritize mental health, both her own and others.
Before you say, that's all I have to do is give somebody finally putting their money where their mouth is.
Yes, and well, as someone who also struggles with mental health, so I really appreciate Ms. Roan's initiative to dedicate some of the money and the resources to establish something for her own industry.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, there are just so many, especially in the place arts industry, especially hard because you don't get, there's yes, there's a union, but not all of us are in. Not all of.
Many of them don't have health insurance.
Exactly.
There's a Brava, Chappell, Roan, and maybe I was thinking, maybe Taylor Swift could maybe kick in some cash too.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot more fundraising going on. Again, this shows that we're in a time that we can't rely on the government to take care of its people. So it's grassroots efforts like this and many others in our community as well that take care of our people. The music industry is a tough industry, and it
can be. And one thing I do want to say, I'm glad that she's working with a nonprofit that's focused on this.
Yes.
She's not trying to create her own nonprofit. She's not trying to fund some random nonprofit. I won't name names, random LGBTQ rights organizations. But she's going with an actual one. Now, I will give her a little bit of a hard time on one thing though. She has a net worth of $10 million. She put in $25,000. The other two, so $75,000 maybe. That's very cute for a nonprofit. That's not a sustainable program though.
Well,
if she wants to donate in a way that actually helps the nonprofit, commit to a certain amount of money for at least 3 to 5 years and get your friends to go. You need $200,000 a year altogether to make it actually be something that can work.
Actually, a very good way to do that is they're musicians, write a song. I mean, just like
they already have money, Bobby. They don't overthink
when
it.
Live Aid happened,
you could do a concert, a benefit concert.
They're all worth. This is walking around money.
There's a million things they can do. The fact that somebody said something on live TV and something is finally going and she's standing behind it, because there's a million people out there that have a platform that say one thing but don't put their money where their mouth is. So, she's actually doing it, which then, and you saw the artists that did put money in are younger artists.
Right.
And so it shows some positivity in the younger community, which is great. Yes, is there much more that needs to be done? Absolutely. Is this the door cracking open? Yeah. Absolutely.
I hope you're right, but Chappell is known as a very surface level person, and that's my fear about this money is just a token and not a sincere investment into this.
As someone who runs a nonprofit, if it's a token, I'll take it. Because I will take that money.
Any dollars a dollar.
Good use.
So Ms. Roan, if you'd like to fund our new mental health fund that we started this year to make sure that people actually cannot afford mental health can get mental health, reach out to me and I will take your $25,000.
By the way, you should also talk to Mackenzie Scott, who threw $45 million at Trevor Project.
I mean, Matt Cosmetics.
That's real money.
Matt Cosmetics just donated $1 million out of their Viva Glam to Trevor Project. So there is funding happening through private corporations, and we need to see more of that. There is, as you said, there's a lot of money going around out there, and we need to, help our own. So I'm glad to see it's happening. There always could be more. We always say there could be more, but I'm thankful and grateful that it is happening at all. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. Hotspots brings Niecy Nash-Betts beyond the closet. Our Hotspots Happening Out LGBTQ lifestyle magazine, Hotspots, is back with a feature on Niecy Nash-Betts, the Emmy-winning actress, Out 100 icon, and proud member of the LGBTQ plus community. In a candid and joyful conversation with Chris Azzopardi, Nash-Betts reflects on love, visibility, and her role in Ryan Murphy's new Hulu series, All's Fair. Married to her husband, Jessica Betts, she shares why she lives loudly, proudly, and entirely on her own terms. This feature story and many more are included in your free copy of upcoming issue of Hotspots magazine on stands today, January 29th. I love me some Niecy Nash. I love that she is as gregarious in person as she is on screen. And she's not afraid to open her mouth and say what she means. And she doesn't mush words. And so we need more people like that out in the world, regardless of, what they do. You just need to be loud and proud in general.
I mean, look, I'm fine with reading her interview, but do I really need to watch a Kim Kardashian show?
I mean, look, it's Ryan Murphy, and watch it for the fashion and the cars and the houses
camp.
And the camp. Don't worry about who's playing it.
I'm not going to tell any of you to watch anything. I'm going to tell you to read Hotspots magazine, though. That's what you should take away from this.
Yes, read Hotspots magazine.
Absolutely.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up drag culture. Drag race star Bimini headlines National Gallery DJ night. London's National Gallery is turning up the volume. The 202-year-old museum will host its first ever after-hours DJ set, Party After Dark, on February 5th. The night blends electronic and pop music masterpieces spanning centuries. Headlining are SoundCloud DJ Mia Lilly and RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 2 star Bimini Bon Morash. The event is part of Art London's After Dark programs. And for those that are confused, the National Gallery is not the British Museum that stole everything, just so we're all
There are,
Right.
well, different degrees of thievery, but as a wee lad, I've been to all those places, and the National Gallery is lovely. They also have a new extension that was built, which is in a very postmodern style that's not to everyone's taste. Apparently Charles was very critical of it, but
Architecture and art are supposed to
be subjective.
and cause conversation, whether it's good or bad.
Especially a public building.
Exactly.
Or else it's just going to be boring.
As an Irish American, I just like to say, who cares? Who elected Charles to anything?
Oh, LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up students and youth culture. Trans Girl Scouts smash cookie records. Transgender Girl Scouts have sold more than 71,000 boxes of cookies this season, thanks in part to journalist Aaron Reed. As of January 22nd, 189 scouts or troops have sold enough boxes to raise over $427,000. What began in 2022 with just 3 girls has grown into a nationwide show of support. The list helps trans youth, many in non-affirming states, feel seen and respected, proving that resistance can be sweet and powerful. Aaron Reed has a list of girls to buy from at aaroninthemorning.com. Thank God they mentioned cookie first, because as a list of girls to buy from, that sounds very absteamy. But also where's my boxes of Thin Mints? In my freezer.
I just hope that the one, this is great, but I just hope that the money raised is used for good things.
Right.
Meaning, yes, the Girl Scouts are great. They teach, young girls community, outreach, and, empathy. But I hope that money itself just doesn't go to the bottom line of the organization, that they actually use that money for additional outreach, especially because this money was raised by trans kids, and all the stuff that we've talked about, it's going against trans kids. I'm hoping that the troops do something locally and or the national level, they put that money towards.
I hear, and I don't think no one's ever. I don't have to worry about anyone accusing me of being a capitalist, thank God. But I don't think that I'm not worried about where the money goes. If people want to buy cookies, this is a great way to buy cookies that helps support the Girl Scouts. I love how the Girl Scouts always seem to be embracing LGBTQ people, unlike some boys that might do some scouting. But also Aaron Reed is just an amazing reporter and journalist. I've been loving all of the work she's doing. She is the future of journalism in America. Hear that, legacy media? Your days are numbered. Aaron, she's doing great work. She's reporting. She's breaking stories. She's working with kids to help raise money for trans girls. It's how can you not love Aaron,
Absolutely.
Now, are the Girl Scout cookies made with actual Girl Scouts?
Okay, Wednesday.
Okay, well, just kudos to Girl Scouts, who has always been supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. They have never had issue, and like you said, with other organizations. So,
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's clear up the worldview. Budapest mayor charged over pride support. Mayor of Budapest has been indicted for supporting a pride march, despite Hungary's ban on public LGBTQ plus events. Prosecutors plan to fine Mayor Gregg Shapiro for promoting Budapest pride. Shapiro wrote on Twitter, quote, "I was a suspect. Now I'm being accused because I stood up for freedom, my own and of others. Prosecutors are seeking to fine me without a trial for announcing and organizing Budapest Büszkeség." The end quote. The charges stem from Hungary's amended Child Protection Act, which restricts LGBTQ plus visibility. Despite the law, more than 100,000 people attended Budapest Pride last year. And once again, I am experiencing great shame for being 1/4 Hungarian.
Oh.
Thanks, Hungary. Thank you.
And, well, I mean, I'm sure that if he is charged and fined, he can appeal this to the highest court in the European Union, where I would not say with certainty, but there's a good chance that this kind of law would be struck down. As long as Hungary wants EU money,
Correct.
they cannot practice bigotry.
Well, especially considering that the EU now is forcing, if you're part of the EU, and you don't have to perform same-sex marriages, but if you get married in
Yeah,
the
recognize
EU, you have to honor and recognize it.
Yeah.
So, you always be careful what you wish for.
I'm loving it. I'm loving
It's
that.
amazing. Absolutely.
I'm loving that. Can you imagine the border towns between Germany and Poland? I mean, the Polish influx of money and resources to German
absolutely.
towns would be fantastic.
I hear you both, and the EU tends to be decent on LGBTQ issues, but the EU is notoriously anti-free speech. And you look at what EU has allowed in Germany for the last 10, 20 years on what they don't allow all sorts of speech. Many heinous things they don't allow to be said, but once you start judging what is and isn't heinous is very suspect. And this is...
There's a reason why certain things are restricted in free speech in Germany.
Whoa. They don't want you to talk about Palestinians in Germany. What does Germany have to do with that?
Oh, that's fear of looking like...
That's not fair. The EU has a long history of not supporting free speech, and this is another tragic example of that.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up drag culture. Drag star Bimini apologizes over Union Jack dress. Drag Race UK icon Bimini has apologized after wearing a Union Jack dress while touring Australia with United Kingdolls Reunited. Following online criticism linking the flag to colonial violence, Bimini shared a video message apologizing on behalf of United Kingdolls and herself for wearing the flag. They acknowledged the pain associated with the symbol. Bimini said, quote, "It was Spice Girls energy, not British Empire energy," end quote. Reaction online have been largely supportive. Well, I guess good for her for apologizing for those who are offended by the symbol. I personally find that, the Union Jack has been used in plenty of cultural moments that's not necessarily denoting kind of colonialism or nationalism. We have everything from Spice Girls, as she said, to Austin Powers,
Do other flags use the Union Jack?
Yes, like half the British Empire.
Does Australia use the Union Jack?
I was going to say Australia, New Zealand, and among numerous countries who have the British flag as a Union Jack as usually upper left corner of their flag. So for me, especially for Australian audience, where they have the flag have the Union Jack on their flag, I find it sometimes a little confusing on why this is a warranted criticism.
Well, and also drag has been historically, a protest. It's historically been camp. Half of our drag performers have playful names that are amalgamations of different words. So some of the stuff has to be taken tongue in cheek. If she was there doing overtly
discriminatory or racist or
performances, then we should talk about that. But again, the Spice Girls showed everywhere, and I'm sure the Union Jack dress was worn on stage in Australia. I think we have to be careful, especially considering we're in a country now that is literally obliterating and wiping out our history and any references to our history. Yes, we don't want to repeat these things, and yes, we want to be sensitive, but some of this happened over 200 years ago, so the person that's sitting in that chair watching this wasn't directly affected by it. So it's a little keyboard warrior.
I remember her name.
Let me do something for the keyboard warriors for just a quick, but one, and I say that anyone who's watching this live knows that I'm not exactly a fan of the British monarchy, but Australia is part of the British Commonwealth. They literally consider the king their king. I didn't make that rule. I'd be all for them ditching it, but that's what it is. They have the Union Jack on their flag. This is one of those most crazy nonsense things I've ever seen of a story. She put so much energy into that apology, and I'm just I'm so confused for a couple of reasons. One, first off, Australia's government is a little bit reactionary and conservative and doing some awful things. Shouldn't activists be worried about that? Also, England is doing a lot of weird repressive stuff all of a sudden. I would like her to put the energy she put into that apology into dealing with the fact that they're arresting old people for wearing Free Palestine shirts and saying they should get 10 to 20 years in prison and end jury service on for that stuff. That's a bigger thing. Panini, I can't even get her name. This is an insane story. And also, one last thing. The people that have caused the harm to the Aboriginal people in Australia are real. Most of their descendants don't live in England. They live in Australia. And maybe you should be confronting that.
Yes. And remember, her name is Bimini, not Union Jackie.
But more, and the other thing is that, you know, yes, we are seeing Britain inside the United Kingdom, where the flag is starting being used and abused as a symbol of nationalism. I mean, the Tommy Robinsons, the people who came marching, shouting racist slogans, and, you know, I mean, part of it is because we have spread a virus. We have spread the virus of intolerance.
When you say we, do you mean the United States, or do you mean the British Empire that started it?
The United States now, as the dominant power of the world, is now, we have now a government that has been spreading that kind of messages all over the world and has infected everyone from Poland to Hungary that we're talking about. Now United Kingdom, at the AFD in Germany. I mean, we are living in dangerous times where we're backsliding into authoritarianism and restriction of speech and restriction of freedom. So there are bigger fishes to fry than this.
These are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. Our anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ family.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Don't forget to join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Rex Rogosch, and I thank you for joining us on behalf of my fellow LGBTQ anchors here at Queer News Tonight, Alex Morash, Gregg Shapiro, and Dr. Bobby Huen. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ+ world, we wish you a good night.